When it comes to the topic of unsolved crimes, I have seen no shortage of them. I've fallen down the rabbit hole of the JonBenet Ramsey case and still have dozens of questions that I know will probably never be answered. I have seen theory after theory on the Gareth Williams case and how he ended up in a locked sports bag. I've discussed the Setagaya family mystery to near exhaustion with countless people. But that's the thing with unsolved cases. There's almost a magnetizing force that pulls us to them. I personally have spent an unhealthy amount of time researching these types of unsolved cases. Some that have been covered on this channel, while others couldn't be due to the subject matter. And then, a few nights ago, I once again found myself at 2 a.m. browsing unsolved mysteries on Reddit. And that's when I saw this. What is the strangest, most baffling disappearance, murder, or other crime that you know of? Something that makes such little sense, you can't begin to wrap your head around it. Here, I came across topics such as Michael Dunahee, a 4-year-old boy who disappeared even though his family was close by. I saw a post about Lars Matank and how he vanished from an airport after mysteriously running full speed into the nearby woods. Both being topics I have seen discussed by many channels and podcasts. And then, I came across this. The murder of Christopher Morris. Boy found dead in a dishwasher on a military base in Texas. The case itself is obviously disturbing and depressing. But what's extra weird is that there's next to no information about this murder seemingly anywhere online until a couple of years ago. Then posts started popping up, all of which had the same weird, bot-like comments from people claiming to know Christopher or be personally involved in his case. The comments are eerily uniform and seem to be written by the same person, if not by actual bots. Obviously, it's not necessarily unusual for people to come forward on a post about someone they knew, but just read these comments and you'll see what I mean. Some people have gone as far as to suggest that the case is wholly fictional, like the Red Spider murders, which used to appear in true crime discussions until it was revealed author Colin Wilson had invented the whole story. It is weird that there are, as far as I know, no other corroborating reports that the murders even happened outside of the aforementioned blog post and weird comment threads. Though others have noted that murders on military bases are notoriously shrouded in secrecy and covered up. I don't think it's that hard to see why this post immediately grabbed my attention. It seemed so bizarre and creepy that at first I genuinely questioned the validity to this, because it seemed real enough to be true, but any type of evidence or related material was practically non-existent. I nearly clicked off the post as I assumed it could just be another Olivia Mabel story, but something about the post stuck with me. After a Google search and finding essentially nothing, I found myself back on Reddit feverishly searching for a topic that up until an hour ago, I didn't even know existed. I needed to know more about this, and if it really was true. And I wouldn't have to wait long to have that answer. The internet truly is an amazing place. You can do all sorts of things. You can buy podcast equipment and become a rambling idiot like me and get paid to sit in a room alone and speak into a microphone while you fail miserably at pronouncing complex words. You can have a mental breakdown while staring at the dozens of unread emails that consistently spam you every day. You can spend what would be a down payment on a house on a cool and funky piece of digital art, otherwise known as an NFT. And if you're like me, you start realizing the older you get, the more this magical internet becomes your best friend when it comes to your health. When I was younger, I didn't think twice about doctors or checkups. I felt fine, so I figured I was fine. But now, let's just say things don't exactly bounce back like they used to, which is exactly why I take omeprazole like I'm eating candy. And suddenly, finding a new doctor becomes a whole new kind of priority. That's why it's kind of wild and honestly super helpful that you can also use the internet to find a doctor in a matter of minutes without the usual headaches. And if you don't believe me, let me introduce you to today's sponsor, ZocDoc. ZocDoc is a website where you can find quality in-network doctors that fit your exact needs, ranging in specialists from primary care, dermatologists, psychologists, orthopedic surgeons, podiatrists, and much more. Have a bad back and desperately need to get cracked like a frozen glow stick? ZocDoc has chiropractors. Have a toothache that's making you consider doing DIY dental work? ZocDoc has dentists. Worried you won't find a doctor that's covered by your insurance? ZocDoc has providers that collectively accept over 1,000 different insurance plans. You can also keep the power to choose. You can filter your selection to those that are nearby, have availability that fit your schedule, and much more, including actual reviews on the doctors themselves. And if you need any more reason to check them out, it might be beneficial to know that ZocDoc appointments happen fast. You won't be waiting 3 to 6 months to have a doctor tell you something that Google could have. You'll instead be seeing a provider, likely within 24 to 72 hours of booking your appointment. You don't even need to call anyone. Just book it in a few clicks, and you're good to go. Regardless if you are just getting out of high school or nearing retirement, it goes without saying that your health is something that should be taken seriously at any age. With ZocDoc, that process just became a whole lot easier. So don't wait for something to be wrong before going to urgent care. Click the link below and head over to ZocDoc.com/cadaver to start taking control of your health today. Once again, that is ZocDoc.com/cadaver. Thank you again, ZocDoc, for sponsoring today's video. 11-year-old Christopher Aaron Morris was found dead in a dishwasher on a military base in Texas. But the coverage of the case is seriously unsettling. Christopher Aaron Morris was born on the 3rd of March 1989 in Del Rio, Texas. He moved into a house in the Shepherd Air Force Base in Wichita County, where he would live until his death at age 11. By all accounts, he was well liked by his peers at Tower Elementary School, although some uncorroborated statements on a blog post online, which we will later get into, say that he was being harassed by older students at some point. The 25th of September was in the middle of fall break, so all of the kids in the county were at home from school. In the morning, Christopher's family went out for their daily routines, leaving Christopher at home alone. At around midday, Christopher's father Carl returned to find Christopher missing. He allegedly checked inside Christopher's bedroom where he found dishwasher racks placed haphazardly on his bed, prompting him to go check the dishwasher. Inside, instead of the dish racks, was the wet, naked, and beaten body of Christopher. He had gone through a full cycle of the dishwasher, washing away any potential fingerprints or other forms of DNA that could have helped investigators determine what exactly happened to Christopher. From here, the case gets a little more dubious. Despite the surreal circumstances of the death, the case was never publicly, conclusively determined to be a murder. Details about the investigation are sparse, and those that are easily available are prone to sensationalism. The autopsy results were never made publicly available. However, word along the grapevine made it seem like the autopsy results were ultimately unreliable anyways, attributing the cause of death solely to the injuries sustained whilst inside the running dishwasher. a deliberation made after numerous delays and inconsistencies with pathologists. Allegedly, the clothes Christopher was wearing that day were never recovered, alongside his bedsheets. The family never appeared to be suspects. The father was busy instructing on the base before he came home. However, this is where even the most dubious of reliable information ends. From here, things get seriously weird. You would expect the brutal and unusual death of a child would be highly covered news. However, this is not the case. Christopher's death was brought to my attention by a Reddit post a few years ago, which cited a single link as its source, a link to an ancient blog post called the Penile Code Avengers. The blog post had virtually nothing to do with murders or true crime at all, instead being a feminist blog. The blog post discusses child abuse cases in North Carolina, with an emphasis on the overrepresentation of child abuse deaths on military bases in the state, somewhat related to the death of Christopher. The comments of the blog post seem to think so. The first comment begins the discussion with the poster stating that the blog post reminded them of a young boy from the Shepherd Air Force Base who was sexually assaulted, tortured, murdered, and run through the dishwasher. The characterization of his death as a assault and torture case is definitely far away from any other publicly available descriptions of the case. However, it sets the tone for the flood of unsettling comments to follow. Despite the unspecific nature of the blog post, virtually every single comment seemed to come from someone personally familiar with the Christopher Morris case. The first time I read these, there was something deeply off-putting about them. It's a bit hard to describe, but the unusual repetitive phrasing, the inclusion of random specific dates, the unnatural emotional tone, the timestamping, and the phone numbers and email addresses all screamed weird. Maybe not necessarily weird in a vacuum, but given the context of the case being incredibly vague and the website being hardly related, it's definitely unusual. I'm not going to go through every comment, but I implore you to read them for yourself. Mind you, since 2021, a few comments have seemingly been deleted, which is especially unusual considering how old they would have been, but they were thankfully archived. That is essentially where the details of this case ends, with an unrelated blog post full of eerie comments from a lot of people claiming to be personally familiar with Christopher and his family. Christopher's obituary was found in a September 30th, 2000 issue of the Oklahoma newspaper Tulsa World, dispelling rumors that the death was a hoax. However, the obituary was painfully nondescript and doesn't answer any questions beyond the existence of Christopher. One would have to assume that, per the nature of the death on a military base, the military would have been adamant in hiding the case from the public eye. The news article from the Shepherd Senator echoes this sentiment, with the advice from the author very much along the lines of, don't worry about it too much. But surely, with all of the activism from family and friends in the comments of the Penile Code Avenger, there would be more information out there. Who killed Christopher? Was it even a murder? Why has a death of this nature been scrubbed from the internet? Why are so many people claiming to know the case personally, despite its minimal coverage? What is up with the unusual blog post and the deleted comments? An 11-year-old boy, an unusual blog post, a lack of any real type of urgency, and practically no information available online. These are the things that summarize the death of Christopher Morris. There are several things I want to go into with the limited information on this case, but to recap, Christopher Morris was an 11-year-old boy living at the Shepherd Air Force Base with his father and stepmother. On September 25th, 2000, Christopher was home alone since it was fall break. Both his father Carl, who was a sergeant in the Air Force, and his stepmom Kelly were at work that day. There's no information on what Christopher was doing during the early morning and afternoon on the day in question. The only real update we get is that in the afternoon, Christopher's father Carl arrived home to find the house quiet, and then strangely finding the racks from the dishwasher had been stacked on Christopher's bed. Carl then quickly discovered Christopher in the dishwasher, wet, unclothed, and dead. These are pretty much the only concrete things we know for sure occurred on that day. Yet, even one thing that I just mentioned has conflicting reports. That being the dishwasher racks. I've seen that those racks were stacked on Christopher's bed, while I have also seen from another source that they were on the floor of the kitchen near the dishwasher itself. So truthfully, all we really know is that Christopher was found dead in the dishwasher and that his father was the one to discover the horrific scene. And while there are several things I want to get into about this, the biggest and most glaringly weird thing is the sheer lack of any coverage on this case. It's not uncommon for a crime that plays out like this, especially one to a child, to gain an almost immediate media following. And before we know it, their pictures are plastered all over major news networks, and is a topic that seemingly everyone has an opinion or theory on. Yet, with this case, there was none of that. In fact, just searching up Christopher's name brings up a slew of results that have nothing to do with this crime at all. It's only after you get very specific with your searches that you get some type of information. But many of the links that are available are just carbon copies of the same few articles that have been written about it. But this crime most certainly did happen. From further research online, I was able to find out that the military police, the FBI, CPS, and local police all assisted with this investigation. Yet that's where the information stops. I found no follow-ups from the FBI or any law enforcement agency that was assigned to this case. The autopsy results have also never been publicly released, so that is just another dead end. With the small exception of an article that I found where it's mentioned that the injuries Christopher sustained could not be determined if they happened before or after his death. The only real piece of solid evidence I found that even talks about the death was a sole newspaper article called The Shepherd Senator, in which it acknowledges Christopher's death and how military police are handling the situation. In short, police presence was increased and more patrols both by foot and by vehicle were carried out by the Shepherd Air Force Base MP unit. But other than that, nothing, and I mean nothing else can be found in terms of coverage on this crime. I have searched countless websites that lead to dead ends. I've searched for hours on various newspaper websites, all to end up with no results found, no matter how specific I was. Hell, I couldn't even find anything on his dad, stepmom, or his mother. This case seemed to be almost destined to stay in this constant state of stagnation, as any type of online tool that I used proved to be completely useless. And then there's the blog post. One of the few places this case has been discussed came from a very unlikely source. It was a blog post from the early days of the internet, going by the name Penile Code Avenger. This profile had nothing to do with Christopher, or any type of crime at all. It instead seemed to be focused on a varying amount of different topics, ranging from feminism, motherhood, abuse, and activism. Yet, it just so happens that on May 17th, 2005, Penile Code Avenger made a post detailing deaths on military installations. And while on the surface it appeared to be completely unrelated to Christopher, the comments on that post told a very different story. Every single comment was about Christopher. And for a case that has essentially no coverage anywhere else, this archaic blog post from 20 years ago contained comment after comment, all revolving around an 11-year-old boy who had died 5 years prior. And while it is good to see something of note with this case, the comments are way too odd to be ignored. We went from finding virtually nothing on Christopher to a random blog post that saw comments from people claiming to be his best friend, his cousin, his classmate, his neighbor, and his own mother. How does a random blog post that had nothing to do with Christopher Morris suddenly have its comment section flooded by his friends and family, all saying similar things that seem to be both personal yet vague at the same time? His own mother's comment appears twice, but from 2 different accounts. Included in those comments were an email address and a phone number, both of which I contacted. And nothing. In fact, every email I saw, I messaged, and again, radio silence. Most every profile that commented that wasn't anonymous linked to dead pages. No profile picture, no contact options, just a faceless, blank profile. All with the exception of one, a commenter going by the name Shelby. Clicking on Shelby's profile sends you to another seemingly blank profile page, with one notable difference: a singular link titled RIP to Christopher. Clicking that link takes you to another ancient web page that is as empty as it is nostalgic. Clicking any of these links sends you nowhere. A profile page, frozen in time, is the furthest that I could get when researching this story. Everything else, and I do mean everything else, is a dead end or a 404 error code. A crime that shocks anyone who reads it, one singular newspaper article covering the case, and a random blog post that is full of comments from those who claim to have known Christopher the best. This is all we have when it comes to the case of Christopher Morris. The only thing that could be added are theories, but I would argue that even those are practically useless, as there is no information on his body, the wounds, the crime scene. There's simply nothing. One could argue that it was his dad since he was the first person to find his body, but there's nothing to back that up, as we know nothing about Carl Morris. Another argument that could be made was that it maybe was one of his friends, or perhaps a bully, that either forced Christopher in or encouraged him to do it as a dare. Hell, I could add that there was an unknown handprint found on the dishwasher that didn't match anybody who lived in the house. But again, there's nothing to prove that other than a few lines of text on a Reddit post. I can't even say much about Christopher himself, as the only information on him is about his death. Nothing about his personality, interest, what his home life was like, if he had a lot of friends, if he had any habits that could have played a role on the day of his death, such as his clothes being neatly folded beside the dishwasher. Did Christopher do this so they didn't get wet? Or did someone else do it to send a cryptic message? Were the dishwasher racks in his bedroom, or were they in the kitchen? How did one comment claim to know that he was tortured and assaulted, Yet I found no source mentioning this. Was this a cover up by military personnel? Was he put in the dishwasher to remove evidence? Or was he put in there because someone simply wanted to watch him suffer? All we know is that on September 25th, 2000, nearly a quarter of a century ago, Christopher Morris was put into a dishwasher, which ultimately took his life, if it wasn't already gone by the time he was placed inside. But what we don't know is why is nobody talking about it? One of the more complicated genres to cover in the true crime field is that of a missing person. Unlike a crime with a victim and a perpetrator, a missing person can seemingly be anything it wants. It could be intentional, it could be foul play, it could be accidental, or it could be something completely different. There's a good amount of these types of cases that I have come across, and while I normally focus on other aspects of this genre, I recently came across one that stands out to me. And not just for one singular reason, but instead multiple. And almost ironically, these extra pieces of information that normally would be seen as a positive thing, providing even more information on the person who is missing, in this case, it seems to only serve in making everything that much more confusing. A YouTube stunt, a missing husband, and a trail of red flags. This one is a bit of a rabbit hole. I'll do my best to summarize it, and it's interesting. My friend Tyler Blake Weathersby has been missing for 5 months. He went for a morning walk and never returned. He didn't have his phone or wallet. His wife, Mona Lisa Perez, posted about it to get people to help search for him and invited people to her house. I went to the morning search the next day and she wasn't there. They say that he was in a mental break or psychosis, and that he wanted to do a spiritual 40 days and 40 nights. They were also saying that he was hearing from God to only eat watermelon. I never bought that story. I went to search the same evening. She wasn't there. She never went to any of the searches. She changed the timeline of Tyler missing too. First he went walking at 7:45 and never went home. Then video footage shows he went walking earlier, so she changed the narrative. Oh, and she murdered her ex-boyfriend with a YouTube stunt gone wrong. They wanted to be YouTube famous. They decided to try a YouTube stunt where Pedro, her boyfriend, held a thick book up to his chest and Mona shoots a Desert Eagle at him. Turns out, the book didn't work. She was pregnant with their second child when this happened. She got a light sentence, had to do 180 days in jail, I believe, and then so many days on probation. She got his life insurance as he worked at the railroad, and she is the mother to his child. Tyler's mother visited the week Tyler went missing. The day before Tyler went missing, Mona asked Janine about his life insurance, and if she was on it. Mona and Tyler had just had a baby. So her ex-boyfriend died while she was pregnant, and now her husband goes missing days or weeks after having a baby. Mona texted Janine the day before Tyler went missing, asking if she noticed strange behavior from Tyler, specifically his eyes. saying that he seems to be in a different place. Janine says no, but they can talk about it when they get home from lunch. So Tyler is supposedly fasting and in a mental psychosis, but the day before he goes missing, they're out having lunch as a family. Mona and Janine get into a big fight. Tyler drives Janine to the airport. Greg buys Janine a room at the hotel next to the airport. Supposedly Netflix was doing a documentary or documentary series on Mona and Tyler about Pedro. Yesterday, Mona posted on her stories that looked like a TV crew is there. They have thousands of people following her and Tyler's social profile, but she has never once posted about him missing in their big platforms, just in Facebook. I've shared this to Crime Junkie many times, and I know his family is posting to Nancy Grace. I'm sharing with as many people as I can. There are so many red flags, and I feel like the police aren't doing anything. And you have such a good sleuthing crew, I'm hoping you take interest in this case and can help us find what happened to Tyler. It just feels like the PD isn't doing anything, and we don't understand why. We're confused, frustrated, and want answers. There are so many red flags. Mona Lisa has started posting on social media again, and it would appear that she's going on vacation. She's been so silent since he's gone missing. She changes the narrative, she spoke about him in the past tense, and it looks like she got a spray tan before she went in the news. Please help us spread the word and find Tyler. Someone knows something. Tyler Blake Weathersby left his house shortly after 7 a.m. on September 4th, 2024. His wife, Mona Lisa Perez, was busy that morning getting her kids ready for school that day, while simultaneously taking care of the couple's newborn that was just 6 months old at the time. According to Mona Lisa, as she was getting her kids loaded into the car, Tyler had returned, and shortly after they left, Mona Lisa saw Tyler starting another walk, which, according to her and others around Tyler, was a fairly common thing for him to do, as it was a way for him to meditate. When Mona Lisa returned home, however, she noticed Tyler still wasn't back. While at first not thinking much of it, her concern grew to panic, and as more hours passed and Tyler still hadn't returned, by 4:30 in the afternoon, Mona Lisa finally caved and called police to report a missing person. And by the following morning, Tyler's brother Greg, his mother Janine, and the rest of the family was informed by Mona Lisa of what was going on. And from there, the real mystery behind Tyler Weathersby truly began. The first thing that is going to stand out to many of you is probably the section of the Reddit post that mentions Mona Lisa killing her ex-boyfriend. And to some of you, you might already be aware of this story and may not have realized it yet.
Just for you guys. Well, everything I'm gonna be showing you guys on my channel, you guys are gonna be saying, "Damn it, boy." My channel is gonna consist of a lot of crazy
stuff. Entertainment just for you guys.
I'm not into doing all the by the law. I mean, I will if I have to, but my thing is crazy. I'm borderline crazy. You know, my whole thing, I just love the adrenaline, the pumping, the near-death experiences. My girlfriend, Mona Lisa.
Hi everyone.
Here I have my girlfriend, Mona Lisa, tell me out with my first video. This right here is a 50 caliber Desert Eagle. This thing, oh wait. Damn trucks. Another one. The point of this video is I really just want to see if a 50 caliber bullet can go through a book. I just want to see if a 50 caliber bullet can go through a book.
See, but what's even crazier?
That's the point of this video. I just want to see if a 50 caliber bullet can go through a book. So, the ultimate test to see if this 50 caliber bullet will go through a book is, I'm just not going to just set it and just shoot it. No. I'm going to stand behind it.
And Mona Lisa is going to shoot it.
Hoping she hits the book. Hoping she hits the book and not me. And not me.
And not me.
Set me into the pearly gates because how stupid this is. But I have confidence that my girlfriend will hit the book and not me. Let's do it.
Okay, so do you want...
In 2017, Mona Lisa Perez and her boyfriend Pedro Ruiz attempted to make a viral video that saw Pedro trying to prove that a book could stop a bullet. Doubling down on the shock factor, Pedro increased the stakes by standing behind the book that he held in front of his chest. Mona Lisa was the one who fired the shot, and the gun wasn't something tiny and insignificant either. What Mona Lisa shot was a Desert Eagle handgun. And if you're not familiar with that type of firearm, what you're seeing on screen now, the one that Pedro is holding, is the firearm that was used. That's a Desert Eagle. In a quest for silly internet fame, a young man lost his life in an incredibly senseless way. And Mona Lisa was left quite literally holding the smoking gun. In the end, Mona Lisa pled guilty to second-degree murder and served 180 days in jail, and was to serve 10 years of probation following. Mona Lisa, now being back in the spotlight with her husband missing, almost immediately brought back the old news from 2017, and it hasn't done her any sort of favors. Even for myself, when I first saw this story, had a perceived view on Mona Lisa given her past and knowing about the incident. But I gotta say, after reading everything from both that case and this one, I can say for certain that nothing about this is cut and dry, and you truly need to wait until you hear all of the facts before forming an opinion. Going back to Tyler's story, once Tyler was declared a missing person, an investigation happened very swiftly after, with searches being carried out in the surrounding area and then expanding to include nearby towns and counties. While Tyler's movements were able to be tracked for a short period, his whereabouts quickly became unknown, as truly, he could have gone anywhere. The last confirmed sighting of him was about a mile from his house, and from there, he essentially vanishes. As days turned into weeks, that turned into months, panic and worry began to consume those closest to Tyler, as each agonizing day led to another. In the time since Tyler's disappearance, law enforcement continued to be on the lookout, at one point using drones to attempt to find anything yet this method proved unsuccessful. Not only were police doing all they could, Tyler's family were also doing everything in their power to assist in finding Tyler. This included starting a GoFundMe as well as a Facebook group that sought any information on his potential whereabouts. And from the outside, it seemed like everything was fine with the family and that they were all sticking together during this time. On the inside, however, things were starting to rip at the seams. And in the absence of any concrete answer as to where Tyler was, fingers began to be pointed. And at the center of all of this was Mona Lisa. The turmoil seemed to start when there were talks that Mona Lisa wasn't joining in any of the searches for Tyler in the days and weeks following his disappearance. It quickly escalated to tensions between Mona Lisa and Tyler's brother, Greg. The issue seemed to come from the Facebook group that was created to bring attention to Tyler's disappearance. While I don't use Facebook and wasn't able to see the group activity myself, I did find screenshots from posts that Greg had made about his frustrations and suspicions that Mona Lisa was hiding something. It got so bad that the original Facebook group in many ways became a 50-50 split, with many blaming Mona Lisa for hiding or giving misleading information to anybody who wanted to help. What also didn't help her case was how vocal Greg was being about his feelings on the matter. And with there being so many issues with the first Facebook group, a second one was actually made, where Greg aired out all of his grievances with Mona Lisa and how he felt about the entire ordeal. He claimed that several of his posts that he made about Tyler on the original Facebook page were deleted, and that eventually he was removed from the group entirely. While that can be incredibly odd, I have no evidence to back this up, other than Greg's posting with him claiming that this is indeed what happened. If that is true, and if you combine the claims that Mona Lisa never assisted in the searches, changed her story about the last time she saw Tyler, and that she waited an entire day before informing Tyler's family, and yeah, it is suspicious and not hard to see why a lot of people are going to continue to point fingers at her. But in respect to Tyler, who ultimately is the real victim here, and since he is still missing and he has no way to defend himself, I want to look at this from all angles. It can be very easy to snowball anger and pain onto one person. If answers are not being given in a quick enough time span, then people are going to start making their own and running with it. And that is when investigations can completely derail. If you want someone to be the culprit bad enough, you can easily form a narrative to paint someone in a bad light. And honestly, it is a lot easier than you think, especially if you know the person well enough. While I am not saying that Mona Lisa didn't have anything to do with Tyler's disappearance, I am also not saying that she did. And if I am looking at things from the side that Mona Lisa is hiding something, then I also need to look at the side that she is in fact an innocent party. The first thing that I want to address is that if she got her times wrong, then yes, that can be a suspicious thing, but also keep in mind that she was making breakfast and getting her kids ready for school while simultaneously taking care of her newborn baby. If Mona Lisa had something to do with it, then how would she have done anything? Again, she was by herself with a baby. Not exactly the best situation to be in if you're attempting to murder your husband. The next fact is we know Tyler never made it back home, as he never appeared on any home cameras that showed him clearly walking out of the neighborhood but never coming back in. Combine that with people confirming sightings of him walking alone a mile from his house, and when I later learned that he intentionally left his wallet, phone, and keys at home, this story started to paint a very different picture for me. Another important thing to note is that the day before Tyler disappeared, his mother Janine had been visiting for about a week at that point, as she wanted to see her son and granddaughter. However, on the night before she was about to leave, Tyler and Janine apparently got into a pretty heated argument that led to Tyler taking his mother to the airport that night. Janine said that Tyler barely spoke during this trip, and that he left her at the airport even though her flight wasn't until the following afternoon. Greg confirms that he spoke with Tyler that night after Janine called him explaining what happened, and Greg stated that when he spoke to Tyler, that he sounded off and not like himself at all. Tyler didn't sound right. It didn't sound like Tyler and how he normally talks. It was like he was speaking in circles and wouldn't really explain what happened. Mona Lisa confirms this as well, stating that the fight that happened was, and I quote, extremely not like him. It was really odd because Tyler and his mom never fought. Something that Janine also confirmed to be true, as according to her, they never crossed words or even ever had an argument like that. And as we know, the following morning is when Tyler disappears. Now, one final piece I feel I need to add before I give my own thoughts on this is something that I keep seeing in pretty much every comment revolving around Tyler. And it's Mona Lisa and her ex Pedro, and how she killed him. I need to set the record straight that when you frame it like that, it sounds like Mona Lisa ambushed Pedro in some way and framed it as an accident or self-defense, when in reality, it was neither. I mentioned earlier how Pedro had died, attempting to block a bullet with a book. And while many have seen that video, or at least heard of it happening, when you read the full transcript from the video, it paints a very different picture. This is the full transcript of that fateful day.
Have to be ready.
This is the moment of truth, babe. You gotta make sure I'm right where the book is. Point the gun.
It's not loaded
No.
or anything, right? Have it on here?
Yeah, you can always hold the finger on it.
So I go like this.
Yeah. You gotta make sure the GoPro has you. Come a little bit more. A little bit more. Right there. Okay, safety's off. Okay, don't push it. I want you to look here. Line these two up. Line those two up. This in the middle of that.
Yeah.
Okay, now aim this. Aim this at the top of that. Okay, are you doing that?
Yep, I have it.
Okay, now do that. Now do that.
Put the safety on there quick.
Hey, this is the moment of truth, babe. I trust. It's in, okay? I love you.
Stop.
You don't squeeze the trigger. Always set your finger here. When you're ready to shoot, bring it down.
Okay.
Okay. Come a little bit. Always hold. Just like that. Hold it real tight. Right there. Okay. Just gonna do it like this. Nope. Cut. Aim right there. The top of that line. When you're ready, babe.
I can't do it, babe. I'm so scared. My heart is beating out of
Mine is too. Here. Come a little closer, babe. Do you want to be super close? Okay.
So just
like that. And when you squeeze it, babe, just squeeze, see? You did it with your arms up.
Well, I pulled back because I don't want to hurt.
No, there's only one bullet. If any, it'll just hit you. But that's why you hold it. But you hold it tight like this.
I know.
Hold it with 2 hands like that, and the same one too. On both sides like that. Hold this, and this is the only one that's going to be on the finger, okay? Show me how you're going to hold it.
Move out of the way.
Squeeze real hard on these 2 when you're ready to line this. Line this up, don't pull, and it's not that sensitive, so you're gonna have to go like that, okay? You're gonna have to go like that, okay? Close, babe.
I know, babe, but how do I know that it's lined? Well, I know, but like when I'm standing right here, it doesn't look.
Yeah, because this has to be... You see the top of that line? You see how that makes a straight line? That has to be flush with this, okay? That top line has to be straight, and those 2 lines have to be there.
Right here?
Just like that. Okay, now, put that and that.
Right there?
Nope, right here, okay? Okay, this is a go. Get level. It's straight. Huh? No, here I come. When you're ready.
Does it look even to you?
You gotta make sure you're in the camera, babe.
Well, then babe, I'm like this.
Yes, that.
And I can't be like that.
Stop backing up. Hold it up.
Like this is where I'm comfortable.
Okay. Don't move. Don't move, babe.
Moving, babe.
You're moving to the side. Keep it straight.
Babe, I'm not doing this. I can't.
Come on.
Babe, if I kill you, what's gonna happen to my life? Like, no, this isn't okay.
Okay, babe,
I don't want to be responsible.
You won't be as long as you hit the book. As long as you hit the book, you'll be fine. Come on, the batteries are gonna die on it. Come closer.
Then you have to go back more.
No, just right here. It's fine. Come on. Right there, babe.
Stop. Babe, stop. Babe.
After reading that transcript, I truly do not see how anyone can blame Mona Lisa Perez on what transpired. Yes, she pulled the trigger that ended up taking Pedro's life, but there were multiple times that Mona Lisa clearly didn't want to do it but was egged on by Pedro. Now, I am not saying Pedro deserved this in any way. It was a stupid and tragic stunt that took the life of Pedro Ruiz. And I feel if people are going to attack Mona Lisa for going along with it, then Pedro should be held to the same accountability, as it was his idea, and he was knowingly doing this for something as ridiculous as internet clout, and wasn't even thinking about the fact that he was a father with a second on the way. The really sad thing is that I know for a fact that even if the idea worked, it would never have been uploaded to YouTube due to the safety guidelines in place. We're talking about a platform where you can't say fuck in the first 10 seconds of a video or it gets demonetized. There's a reason why every video uploaded to YouTube showing it only shows the parts leading up to it and not the actual shot. While I am not saying Mona Lisa is squeaky clean and innocent, after all, she could have made the choice to simply not do it, I don't think it's fair to brand her a murderer when she was obviously pressured into it. If you take what happened between Pedro and Mona Lisa out of the equation, if that incident never happens, then I find it unlikely that anyone would look at the mother with a newborn as being responsible for Tyler's disappearance. When you take into account everything that was going on the night prior with Tyler, the fact that he left his phone, wallet, and everything at home in an age where nobody goes anywhere without their phone, it starts to point me in a direction that I feel a good amount of people don't want to look at. And I say this from personal experience. Without going into too much detail, Last year, I had a friend leave their home, get in their car, and drive off in the middle of the night. They left their phone, wallet, Apple Watch, and house keys behind, and they had every intention of never coming back, if you catch my drift. I remember the night after they left, I found myself in a police station, desperately giving a deputy sheriff any information that I could. And I will never forget what he said to me when I mentioned that they left their phone behind. And it was basically the same thing that I just mentioned a few moments ago. Nobody over the age of 20 is going to intentionally leave their phone behind. Not in today's world. It's just not going to happen. Seeing Tyler's actions reminded me a lot of the personal hell that I went through last year. And from my experience, I can say that sometimes there aren't warning signs. Sometimes there is no note. Sometimes people get up and leave, never intending to come back. On the other hand, there are odd things that Mona Lisa has done that, if true, should be looked into. Her not assisting in any searches, no matter how you spin it, is odd. Her waiting until the next day to say anything to Tyler's family is odd. Tyler's brother Greg being removed from his missing brothers Facebook group is again odd. Yet, some of these points could easily be countered or flat out proven as being nothing more than an attempt to make Mona Lisa look guilty. One example is from the post that started this story, where OP claimed that she was doing nothing to bring attention to Tyler's case. Yet, this statement is completely false, as I've been to Mona Lisa's Instagram, and you can clearly see in her bio that she links a website dedicated to finding Tyler and raising awareness of his disappearance. If she's not sitting by a window, crying every day, and portraying herself as a broken woman, then perhaps, yeah, it can be seen as someone who doesn't care that her husband is missing. But it could also be someone who has to move on with her life because she has 3 kids. If you point out that she did it for the life insurance, after all, OP claimed that Mona Lisa asked Janine about Tyler's life insurance a few days before he went missing, and yeah, it's obviously suspicious timing. But again, you have to look at it from both sides. And in the state of South Dakota, where Tyler and Mona Lisa live, if a person is missing, no life insurance money is paid out until it is deemed that the person in question is likely deceased. A process that usually takes around 7 years to happen. So, if she did it for the life insurance, then she isn't seeing that money anytime soon, which to me at least eliminates the life insurance theory because it simply doesn't hold water. Seemingly every argument that could be made for Mona Lisa being responsible for Tyler's disappearance can be met with an equally valid argument for her innocence. The same with Tyler. As yeah, it could be assumed he left and never intended to come back, or he simply left for a walk and could have potentially run into foul play. Stranger things have happened after all. It's why this case stood out to me so much, because of the arguments and counter-arguments. If Mona Lisa did it, then why? Is she a cold-hearted killer who got a taste for blood at the hands of Pedro? Or is she simply a victim of circumstance and shitty luck? Did Tyler leave with every intention of never returning, or did something sinister happen from an unknown third party? I really do hope that the truth about this case comes to light, for the sake of everyone involved. Because at the end of the day, Tyler Weathersby, a husband, father, son, and brother, was someone who was loved by a lot of people. And while I am genuinely curious to read everyone's thoughts on this in the comments, I do ask that you stop and think before you type. Because the scary reality is that anyone could find themselves in this exact same situation. After all, it happened to me.
We had good intentions. Our
Of course.
intentions were good.
Yeah, I know.
I think our heart was right.
Mm-hmm.
But we were preaching about loving yourself and knowing yourself and being yourself. And I think we got so caught up in that we weren't being ourselves.
Yeah.
We got so caught up in being a role model or
Mm,
an example or a leader,
like they.
you
yeah.
know, that we forgot about ourselves along the process.
That's so
And it caused us to go through so many things where life humbled us. And again, we had to go back to the basics. But I'm thankful for it now, though. Like, I just been thinking about it. This is Tyler Blake 2.0.
Hey,
You
I was
know?
about to say something, but you don't like this word when I say it, and it's so hard not to say it. You know what word I'm talking about.
There's a unique subgenre in the true crime field on YouTube that has been around for years. While it's not the most consumed piece of media, it is, by its very nature, something that the average person doesn't want to experience. That being 911 calls. It's something that even for me, I typically avoid because it has always disturbed me on a very deep level. And it makes sense. You're listening to the audio recordings of the worst moments of a person's life, if not their final minutes alive. It's different from what we've all seen in movies. There's no drama. There's no feel-good message at the end of it. It's simply horror that is typically followed by death. I don't judge people who are drawn to them. It's morbid curiosity at the end of the day, and we are a species that has seemingly always been fascinated by death. Not just in today's world either. It's always been that way. People used to wear their best outfits to attend a public execution, which was considered the normal thing to do back then. We always slow down to look at a bad car wreck. We seek out footage that we know we will regret watching once the video ends. Yet, we continue to be fascinated by death. And obviously, I am not excluded from that. Which is how I found myself on the Morbid Questions subreddit a few weeks ago. And that's where I came across this post. Most traumatic 911 call you've listened to. The post had a long list of different answers. Some recalling personal stories, while others spoke about 911 calls that they heard online. And then, as I kept searching, I found one story that shocked me from the first sentence. Something that I genuinely thought was a troll comment. Yet after a quick Google search, I was staring face to face with the grim truth that it did in fact happen. The following is that story. It's August 24th, 2019, in Fort Smith, Arkansas. And Deborah Stevens is doing something that she's done for over 20 years. She was delivering newspapers early in the morning to the residents of the community. Well known and loved, Deborah was not a stranger to many people in the area. Apart from her job of delivering newspapers, she also taught preschool students at their local church, and had done so for well over 15 years. And for Deborah, this rainy early morning was to her just another day, albeit a wet one due to the downpour that seemed to have no intention of stopping. The roads, however, were becoming more treacherous as the minutes passed. And since there had been so much rainfall, flash flooding in nearby areas was becoming more and more common. As Deborah continued her route, She struggled at times to see due to the rough weather conditions, and then, before she even knew it, her car was swept off of the road, and Deborah quickly found herself stuck in the driver's seat, with a rush of water flooding into her car. And within a matter of seconds, Deborah was neck deep in water, and the water was slowly rising. Panicked, she pulled out her phone and dialed 911. The following is that phone call. However, I must give a warning that what you are about to hear is disturbing. Please feel free to skip to the time on screen right now if you wish to skip it.
Where's your emergency?
I have an emergency, a severe emergency. I'm in a flooding. My car veered off the road while I was doing my newspapers, and I'm flooded over here on the end of Kincaid, and it's all the way up to my windows, and I can't get out, and I'm scared to death, ma'am.
Okay,
Can you please help me really
I
bad?
need you to calm down. I need you to tell me where you are.
I don't know, ma'am. I'm on the end of Kincaid down here by these apartments. There's some apartments on Kincaid. I don't know what they're called.
What color is your
Park
vehicle?
Avenue. On the other side of Kincaid, at the very end of Kincaid Street, there's some apartments, and
Do you have a dark blue car, is what I'm asking you? What color is your vehicle?
Yeah, dark. It's gray SUV, lady, and the mortar's all the way up to my windows.
Okay, hold on for me. Don't hang up.
And it's coming in my windows. I mean, I'm floating in water right now, ma'am.
And you're at close to the area of 5801 Kincaid?
Yes, ma'am. I need help right now. I'm soaking wet. I'm sick, and I don't know what to do, ma'am.
Okay, what's your name?
Debbie Stevens, please help me. I don't want to die.
You're not going to die. Hold on for me.
Well, I'm scared. I'm sorry. I didn't know the water. I couldn't see the water, and when I came up on it, man, it just all of a sudden hit me.
And you're in a gray van?
I'm in a gray SUV, a Mazda CX-9.
And you are a paper person?
Yes, I'm a paper person. Please send somebody fast to get me. I'm scared.
Okay, listen to me.
I can't
Calm down
swim. I
for
can't
me.
swim. I'm going to drown.
You're not going to drown. Just calm down.
Well, ma'am, it's all the way up to my chest.
Okay,
please
listen to me.
help
I
me.
understand. Hold on for me. Just don't
I'm
hang up,
scared.
okay?
I'm sorry.
I understand. It's fine to be scared. You have a right to be scared. Hold on
I'm
for me.
scared.
Did you go off the road into a ditch?
No, ma'am. I was in the parking lot of the apartments cutting through to go to my paper route because I couldn't go down 66th Street because it was flooded. And when I got to the end, I couldn't see the water in that driveway, and there was water everywhere. And it just took me away and started pulling me, just sucking me in, and then my car died. How long is it going to be, ma'am? My phone's going to die, and I can't charge it. It's going to get wet. It's all the way up. It's all the way up to my neck almost.
Okay, hold on for me.
Hello?
I'm listening to you. So I said, hold on for me.
Oh, God, please help me. Lord, please help me. I don't want to die.
Miss Debbie, I need you to calm down and hold on, okay?
Oh, I'm scared, ma'am. I'm sorry. I'm scared. I need the cops to come get me. I need somebody to help me. I'm scared.
Are you the only one in the vehicle?
Yes, I'm the only one in the vehicle with all my papers floating around me.
Okay, listen to me. Make sure
Yes,
you're in the
ma'am.
area of 5801 Kincaid.
I don't know what 5801 Kincaid is. I don't know. I just know there's two sets of apartments
No, I
over
know,
there.
but she's not sure. Listen to me.
I don't-
Listen to me. If you're doing the paper, you got to know at least a little bit of where you
I
are.
can do this paper route over here, ma'am. I was cutting through to go to my paper route because I couldn't get down
So
66th
tell me what
Street.
you see then. What do you see?
There's some apartments because all I see is some apartments. I don't know the names of any of these apartments over
What
here 'cause I don't do
what does
these.
the apartment complex look like?
I can't see them, but, man, there's two sets of apartment complexes, one on the right and one on the left. And I'm in the back side of them back here in a bunch of grass. Looks like a bunch of trees.
Okay. I'm going to send somebody out there to you, okay?
What? It's over. It's getting up to me. I'm scared. How long is it going to take?
I don't have an officer available, so it's going to take a minute. So I'm going to try to get somebody out there to you. Just hold on, okay?
I'm going to die. It's all the way up to my windows. I'm going to die.
You're not
I
gonna
can't
die.
die. Oh my God. I need to go and tell my mommy bye because I don't want to die.
Cancel the stalled vehicle.
Ma'am, it's all the way up to me, ma'am.
Listen to me, Miss Debbie. Just stay on the phone with me. I'm going to get somebody out there to you. Just hold on and don't hang up.
I'm going to die, ma'am, because it's going to run my phone because my phone's going to get wet.
Hold on for me.
I'm going to get out and swim. If I could, I would. But I don't know how to swim, baby, and I'm scared. And there's people over there watching me, and they're probably laughing, and they're over there looking at me.
People are looking at you, and they're not going to help you?
Two sets of cars over there, and they're just all looking at me like I'm stupid. I couldn't help it. I love it. They just started pulling me down the road.
Okay, hold on for me.
I got my lights on in my car. That's the only thing you can see. I just need help. It's getting bad. It's going to touch my steering wheel. I'm going to drown. Please help me. Please help me. How long is it going to be? Please,
Listen to me. I need you to calm down and hold on. Okay?
I'm scared, man.
I understand that you're scared, but there's nothing I can do sitting in a chair, so you're going to have to hold on, and I'm going to send you somebody, okay?
Okay. Hello?
Hold on. I'm still here. Hold on.
Ma'am, please hurry.
Listen to me. I understand. Hold on for me.
Ma'am, they're going to let me die.
I'm not going to let you die. Watch me on the phone.
Ma'am, I don't want to die. I'm sorry, but I don't want to die today.
You're not going to die.
My SUV is ruined. Oh, my gosh. Somebody help me.
This continues for an agonizing amount of time. Deborah found herself in a horrific situation. She was trapped in her car with water levels rising to her windows, and the inside of her car had flooded so much that the water was approaching neck-deep levels. To make things even worse, Deborah had no idea where she was, since she had taken a different route she was unfamiliar with, because her normal route was flooded. The only thing that she could really see was an apartment complex, some trees, and tragically, people standing nearby who, according to Deborah, were laughing at her, completely unaware of the horror that she was experiencing inside of that car.
Can you tell me how long it's going to be, ma'am? It's getting higher, ma'am.
Ma'am, I understand that you're scared. I know the water level is getting high, but I don't know what else to tell you.
Oh, my God, I'm going to die.
You're not going to die. You're going to die.
I'm scared.
I know you're scared. Just stay on the phone with me, okay?
I'm scared. Somebody save me.
Am I not on the phone with you trying to get you some help?
Yes, but I need somebody to get me out before I die. I'm sorry.
You're not going to die. I don't know why you're freaking out. It's okay. I know the water level is high.
Scared.
I understand that, but you freaking out is doing nothing but losing your oxygen up in there, so just calm down.
But are they not going to come get me?
You said what? I'm sorry?
When are they going to be here?
As soon as they get there.
Well, how long is that going to be before I die?
Yeah, I know.
Man, my phone's going to die, and they're not going to find me, and it's going to ruin my brand new phone.
Do you really care about your brand new phone? I mean, you're over there crying for your life. Who cares about your phone?
I need to get out. I need to throw up. I need to throw up right now.
Well, then you're in water. You can throw up. It's not going to matter. If you got throw up on yourself, they'll still help you.
No, my car is fixing to catch on fire.
How if it's underwater?
It's turned on. I can't turn it off.
Your car's not going to catch fire in water.
Oh. It's making an awful funny noise and smoking. Oh, my God, man. It's all the way up past my doors.
If you're picking up on the dispatcher having a, let's say, less than pleasant demeanor, you're not alone. Deborah is rightfully panicking given the situation. And while I understand 911 dispatchers are trained to remain calm under moments of intense stress, the way in which this dispatcher is speaking to Deborah, for many who hear this, comes off as cruel. Some have attributed it to her not realizing how bad of a situation it actually was. Yet, in any case, the back and forth between Deborah and 911 continued like this for 13 minutes.
Ma'am, it's getting all the way up to my chest, and I'm getting.
I know the water's up to your chest. Just stay on the phone with me, and I have an officer and the fire department coming out to you. So just hold on, okay?
Thank you. I'm sorry if I'm rude, but I'm scared.
You're not being rude. I know you're scared. Just calm down for me.
I'm scared. I've never had anything like this happen to me before.
Well, this will teach you next time. Don't drive in the water.
Couldn't see it, ma'am. I'm sorry, or I wouldn't have.
I don't see how you didn't see it. You had to go right over it, so.
No, ma'am. I was in the drive. I was in a parking lot. There was no water where I was at.
Okay.
And when I got to the end of the parking lot, I was looking for the road to get out into the main road. When I got to the main road, it was too late. There was water, and I couldn't see it fast enough.
The water just didn't appear.
I didn't see it fast enough. My headlight went out, and I couldn't see it.
Okay. It's okay. We'll get you help and get you out of there. Just hold on, okay?
Okay, ma'am. I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
I'm sorry, ma'am. Mm-hmm. What's your name?
Donna.
Donna, thank you for being here for me, Miss Donna.
You're welcome.
I'm just scared, and I don't know what to do. I can tell you when it rains again, I ain't never doing this.
That sounds like a good idea. Because, Fort Smith,
the water is just like it just stays on the street. I've done papers for 21 years, and I've never had it like this.
Yeah, I think that's understandable, though. Hold on for me, okay? Do you see the officer, ma'am?
No, I don't see nobody, ma'am.
10-4, it's going to be a gray SUV.
My windows are fogged up. I got my lights on, but I don't see nobody.
Do you hear the fire trucks?
Rushing water, ma'am. I can't hear nothing.
Okay, well, don't cry, and then don't talk, and then let me know if you hear the fire department.
Don't what?
The fire trucks. Tell me if you hear the fire trucks.
No, ma'am. All I can hear is rushing water.
Are you on the park side? Are you in the parking lot side? Are you on the road?
Ma'am, you go down that street that runs in between those two apartments right there, and I'm on the... And the street goes to the end, and my car veered off to the left, and I'm behind these last set of apartments on the left-hand side. I'm behind them. I guess it's a circle down there. I don't know. I've never driven down on this part. I don't know, ma'am.
She said she's in between both apartment complexes on this street at the dead end.
In the very back side, there's a bunch of trees.
I don't know. Right there, she showed 5801 at the end.
The back side of these apartments over here, where these people are at, they can all see me. They're all standing out there watching me.
Miss Debbie, you're going to have to shut up, okay? I need you to listen to me.
Yes, ma'am.
Can you start 10-4. Can you start your, is your car still on there? Like, can you honk your horn?
My horn is dead.
Okay, hold on for me.
My horn is dead.
Okay, hold on for me.
Everything is dead.
Listen to me. Hold on.
It's even higher. It's all the way past my doors.
Hold on for me. Don't hang up.
Ma'am, please.
Hold on for me. Hold on. Ladder 2.
Oh, my God. And it's getting higher and higher. And I'm scared. Oh, my God.
For over 20 minutes, Deborah pleaded, cried, and prayed for someone, anyone, to come save her from a situation that I feel most of us cannot begin to fathom. Being trapped in your car, physically unable to free yourself, and seeing the water level rise closer and closer to completely submerging you. Deborah's call with 911 ended at approximately 5 a.m. Police and EMS arrived at the scene 58 minutes after that call had ended. And due to the strength of the currents, police had to wait until a boat was delivered to be able to physically get to Deborah's car. The entire time, residents of the apartment complex were pointing out to where her car was, that had now become fully submerged. Shortly after officers arrived with the boat, they were able to reach Deborah's car and remove her from it. But sadly, she was pronounced dead shortly after. Shortly after Deborah's death, the 911 call was released to the public after intense pressure from media. The result of this went about as well as you can imagine. Disgust and anger filled everyone who heard that audio, and it's not hard to see why. The 911 dispatcher was identified as Donna Renew, and almost immediately after her name was leaked, she received dozens of death threats, and the local public demanded that she be fired and arrested. However, that never happened. In fact, the morning that Deborah called 911, it happened to be Donna's last day working there, as she had put in her 2 weeks' notice already. There were never any criminal charges filed against Donna, and after an investigation, the chief of police for Fort Smith declared that while Donna did violate policy by being rude to Deborah several times, she did nothing to warrant her arrest. This didn't sit well with anybody in the area, and shortly after this, hundreds of calls were placed to 911 with the sole purpose of harassing and threatening dispatchers. It became so bad that the calls were crippling their ability to handle calls that were actual emergencies. And while I can understand the anger and the need to blame someone or anything, stooping to that level is something that I could never agree with. Doing something like that could very well have cost someone else, someone completely innocent, their life. What happened to Deborah Stevens on August 24th, 2019 is a horrific tragedy, and there's no other way to spin that. While I can agree Donna was definitely out of line with how she was speaking to Deborah, who was pleading for her life, I don't think any type of punishment is going to heal those that were closest to Deborah. And from what I've read about her, I don't think she would have wanted any part of that. Sometimes you come across a story that is so bizarre yet simultaneously unique that you can't help but be drawn in. What I'm about to tell you is one of those stories. It's something that the logical part of me wants to chalk up to being a made-up scary story. Yet there's things about how it's written that give me pause. Not to mention the interactions that followed it. The office in the middle of nowhere. When I was 19, I worked for a company that allocated labor to rural areas of Australia. Basically, what you did was tell them when you were available, and they'd send you to a remote farm for a few weeks where you'd do whatever they needed done. It was hard work and long hours, but good pay and good fun if you got in with a nice group of workers. When this occurred, I was working on a large property. I was told it covered roughly the same landmass as the state of Maryland, USA, about 9 hours from Sydney City. And the property itself was about 40 minutes from the nearest town. In short, it was in the middle of nowhere. I was working at the farm clearing brushland with 3 other guys my age from the city. Our boss was a guy called Jeremy who owned the farm and supervised us while helping out with the work. He was pretty laid back and was generally really good to us. This summer in particular was very hot and the work was hard. So one day when the temperatures hit about 38 degrees Celsius or about 100 degrees Fahrenheit, Jeremy decided to give us the afternoon off. He said he knew of a water hole on the farm, about a 25-minute drive north. I was keen for a swim, but the other guys just wanted to relax for the Arvo. So him and I hopped in one of the work trucks and started heading across the property. It was mostly wide, empty expanses, with a few clumps of scattered bushland. Jeremy wasn't much of a talker, so we drove more or less in silence. After about 20 minutes, however, he suddenly perked up and jabbed me in the ribs. "Do you see that over there? Beneath those 2 dead trees?" I should mention here that if you're not familiar with inland areas, particularly those in Australia, they are brown or red, and mostly flat and bland, meaning any bright colors stick out like a sore thumb. So you can imagine our surprise when we could see a large blue angular structure far off in the distance. We steered in its direction, and as we got closer, we realized it was a huge blue shipping container, just sitting in the middle of nowhere. Jeremy was perplexed. I asked him if he knew what it was, but he obviously didn't. He said that he hadn't seen it when he drove through the same area about 5 weeks before, and he wanted to go see what it was. Initially, we pulled to a stop about 100 meters away from it. At this stage, I had a really bad feeling. The whole thing wasn't right. It's hard to explain, but if you can imagine seeing such a foreign object in the middle of a huge barren expanse, it had to be something weird. Jeremy, however, wanted to investigate, which I understood given that it was his property. But in truth, I was really anxious. As we got closer, things got even more bizarre. There was a big diesel generator behind it, thumping away, and a CCTV camera on each side, all motion activated so they buzzed from side to side, following us as we moved around. I tried to reason with Jeremy, something along the lines of, "With all this security, someone obviously doesn't want us here. Let's just go." He brushed me off, however, reminding me that it was his farm, and whoever had put this here was trespassing, so he wanted to go inside. Despite all the surveillance, there was only a small padlock on the huge door. We had some bolt cutters in his toolbox, and after a bit of a struggle, we broke the lock and went inside. The first thing I noticed was the rush of cold air as we got in. The place was air conditioned, which I must admit was quite pleasant on such a hot day. We searched around for a light switch, but I could already see that it was some sort of IT setup. There were flashing LEDs all around the place, and that sort of hum you hear when a hard drive is working hard. When we finally switched on the lights, we could see a sophisticated, albeit somewhat cluttered, office setup. There were hard drives the size of bar fridges, and other computer equipment lining the walls, sometimes piled 2 or 3 high, and plastic storage boxes scattered around the far wall, and several desks with computer monitors arranged in the middle, complete with rolling office chairs. At this stage, I felt like I was in one of those nonsensical dreams. This made absolutely no sense. We wandered to the middle and sat down at the desk to see if the computers could give us any idea of what the hell was going on here. My heart was racing, and I just wanted to bolt. We had been seen by the CCTV, so if anyone was monitoring, they already knew we were here. Jeremy, on the other hand, was adamant that we had to get to the bottom of this. So I put on a brave face and started looking through the computer. This went on for a while, but in short, neither of us had a very high grasp of technology outside of Facebook and Microsoft Word. The best I can describe it from my lay position is that it was an endless list of computer talk. It was like what the old Napster or LimeWire download screens looked like. Just constantly picking up and receiving data, then recording it on several windows. I gave up on the computers and walked cautiously over to the far end of the container, to a big pile of storage boxes. By then, I was pretty sure no one else was there, as there was nowhere to hide really. But I was still incredibly on edge. I decided, against my better judgment, to see what was inside all of these boxes. My brief sift through the boxes still makes me feel sick to my stomach. It didn't take long for me to realize that this box was full of posters, DVDs, and photos, all of hardcore CP. One thing that still gets to me is that it was all neatly ordered into folders and smaller boxes. These people were organized. I immediately recoiled, jumped up, and ran over to Jeremy. I could hardly string a sentence together. I said something to the effect of, "Mate, get out. Child, go, get the fuck up." I dragged him out, composed myself, and managed to explain what I saw. We jumped back into the truck and sped back to the house. The farm had no mobile phone reception, and we hadn't brought the satellite phones, so we had to get back to the landline to call the police. Once we called them, they still had to make it all the way to the farm from the nearest police station, which was in a town about a half hour from the town closest to the farm. As I mentioned, it's very remote. We waited, talking frantically about what we'd seen, until the cops arrived almost an hour later. They arrived with 2 four-wheel drive cars, and we jumped in and led them back. This is where it gets worse. By the time we got back, the container door was open and there was a fire inside. We had only 2 small extinguishers in the cars, and these did very little. The fire department took an hour to get there, by which stage most of the damage was already done. An arson report by the federal police found almost no evidence on the computer equipment described, and only traces of paper and cardboard. This means that whoever ran it knew we were there and had time to come and remove most of it and get away. There were various ways to get off the property, and the landmass was huge, so there was no real way to tell them. Since the police hadn't taken us too seriously in the first instance, probably due to our poor explanation on the phone, aerial surveillance was also impossible by the time we had pieced everything together. I took a keen interest in following it up, but with no real evidence of who might be responsible, the investigation went cold. I've kept in contact with Jeremy, and the shipping container is still sitting on the farm, as it's too expensive to move. I'll never forget what I saw in those boxes. Before I delve into the details of this post and my thoughts on it, I feel it is important to note something. This was posted on r/letsnotmeet, a notoriously popular subreddit for creepypastas and scary stories that fuel an endless line of channels on YouTube. This subreddit, along with r/creepyencounters and r/nosleep, while entertaining, are also heavily shadowed by the notion that many of the stories are fake. After all, every story is pretty much relying on the trust me bro policy, and when it comes to certain subject matters, if no evidence is present, then nothing about the post can be believed, because it could simply just be an elaborate story. However, with OP's post about this random shipping container, there's something about how he words everything that makes me feel that this is genuine. Having something that remote to hide something that horrific adds up. And I feel if this was simply a scary story, then they could have just as easily added dead bodies or cult-like writings instead of CP. And I say that because that is not typically the go-to subject matter for these types of stories, as it's something that is far too real to even touch in a fictitious way. It's something that society will always be against. Even in prison, it's unacceptable. It's why creeps who are actually involved in that scene are highly discreet and go to great lengths to hide it. It would explain why the container was set on fire, but would also account for why nothing could be found. Because to perverts who collect this type of stuff, that material is a gold mine to them, and they will do anything in their power to keep it. The comments on this post also lead me to believe it's real, with OP himself responding to one with more information. Thanks for the support, and in response to a few questions, the fire. Judging by the arson report, a lot of the computer equipment had been moved, so it wasn't remotely started. Someone came there and started it after removing stuff. The location. I don't really want to draw attention to Jeremy's farm as the former location of a CP ring. It's his home, and much like any farmer, he takes a lot of pride in owning and managing his land. So I'd rather not post a Google Map location. 90% of Australia is an unoccupiable, barren expanse, so it's not too easy to find. Pictures. I don't want to ask him for that. It's a bit of a perverse request, and it was quite a traumatic experience. We didn't take any pictures at the time because with no phone reception, there was no reason to have a phone or a camera. The police. We explained the situation very poorly on the phone because we were really frantic, and I still feel bad about it. But in the situation, it was very hard to keep composure. And also, due to the remoteness, they couldn't mobilize people very quickly. I don't blame them. I suppose that's why you'd have a setup so far away. The diversion. I thought about that, but it would be a very elaborate means of diverting attention, especially in such a remote place. Wow. Makes you wonder how many other similar operations are around, and why not try to hide it a bit better? And just a simple padlock to prevent access? Strange. That is one of the more bizarre stories I've heard tell of, but I know you're not faking that up. Too many tells. I'm glad you didn't get burned up. I have little doubt the fire was remotely set as soon as someone was awake enough to review footage from the camera alarm. Doing anything more than bugging out could have easily resulted in far worse. And the comments themselves believed OP. And this is a website where people are constantly fighting in comments over what's fake and what's real. Hell, most every story I have seen on these subreddits are full of people who enjoy the story, but can tell from the start that it's very fake. Because there's always a jump scare of some kind, or some dramatic twist to keep the audience engaged. Yet with this story, it's told almost as someone needing to get it off their chest. If this was some elaborate and well-written scary story, then surely OP would have his profile full of similar themed stories across multiple pages. Yet this was OP's one and only post, and that was 12 years ago, as of the date of this recording. It makes you wonder, if that type of operation can happen on someone's property without them even knowing, what else could be hiding in plain sight? What types of horrors are being hidden behind a locked door? And in OP's case, what else was in those boxes?